What if the most profound wisdom wasn't meant to be shared? Like, what if teaching it was actually considered, well, wicked?
Mm.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into an ancient text that tackles this exact idea. It really explores the ethics of sharing knowledge, or maybe not sharing it.
And the consequences, which turn out to be quite surprising.
Exactly. The consequences of holding back insight.
We're unpacking the Lohiccasuttaṃ. It's this really fascinating dialogue. You've got this powerful Brahmin,
A
Lohicca.
Brahmin, right, so a religious scholar, part of the priestly class in ancient India.
Yes. And he holds this very, very particular view on teaching. And as we'll see, well, the text calls it problematic.
Problematic is maybe putting it mildly.
Huh? Maybe. But it really pushes us, makes us question our assumptions about being well-informed and what our responsibilities are with knowledge, both then and now.
Definitely. So our mission for this deep dive, we want to pull out the key nuggets from this ancient conversation.
See why sharing knowledge isn't just like a nice idea, but maybe a fundamental ethical thing.
Right. What does it tell us about real leadership, about teaching effectively? And, how does this ancient wisdom still hit home today with how we deal with information?
It's surprisingly relevant.
Okay, so to really get the weight of Lohicca's view, let's set the scene.
Good idea.
Our story starts with Bhagavan, that's the Buddha, traveling. He's got about 500 monks with him.
Quite a following.
Yeah. And they arrive at this village, Sālavatikā. It sounds like a pretty nice place, prosperous, lots of resources.
It was granted by King Pasenadi of Kosala, so it's well supported.
And presiding over this thriving village is Lohicca, our Brahmin.
The man of the hour.
Yeah.
And despite his status, he's got this wicked view, as the text puts it, papaka digata.
It's just so counterintuitive, isn't it? His core belief. He genuinely thinks that if a contemplative, a monk or ascetic or another Brahmin,
Right.
if they figure something out, attain some skill or understanding of the Dhamma.
The Dhamma being the Buddha's teachings, or kind of the underlying truth of things.
Yeah. He thinks they absolutely should not teach anyone else.
It's kind of shocking. His reason. He asks, what can one do for another?
As if helping is impossible or pointless.
Something like that. He even compares sharing knowledge to, let me get this right, cutting an old bond and making a new one.
And he calls that wicked, greedy conduct.
Sharing knowledge is greedy.
I know. Turns everything on its head. And it immediately raises this huge question for us, right?
Totally. Like in our world, overflowing with information.
Where knowledge is arguably currency.
Is there ever a good reason to hoard it? Especially if it could actually help people.
Lohicca's view just feels like such a stark contrast, especially to the Buddha, who's famous for, well, teaching.
And that's a key point the text makes. It explicitly says Lohicca knew about the Buddha's reputation.
Oh, he'd heard the buzz.
Definitely. He knew people said the Buddha was the awakened one, that his teaching, the Dhamma, was beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, and beautiful in the end. Complete. Pure. So Lohicca isn't ignorant of the alternative view. He knows who the Buddha is supposed to be.
Which really sets the stage for a major philosophical showdown.
Yeah.
But here's a twist. Despite this really strong negative view about teaching,
Right.
Lohicca sends his barber, a man named Rosika, to invite the Buddha and all 500 monks for a meal.
Okay, so he's willing to be hospitable at least.
Seems so.
Yeah.
And as Rosika is walking with the Buddha towards Lohicca's place,
Yes.
he kind of spills the beans. He quietly tells the Buddha about Lohicca's problematic view on not sharing knowledge.
So he gives him a heads up.
Yeah, and he subtly asks the Buddha, maybe try and talk him out of it, persuade him.
And what does the Buddhist say?
His response is so understated. Just, perhaps, Rosika, perhaps?
Not a, don't worry, I'll sort him out. More like letting things unfold.
Exactly. It hints that a lesson is coming, but maybe not a, direct argument or confrontation. I find that fascinating, too.
Me too. It's a very particular teaching style.
So the meal happens, and afterwards, the Buddha doesn't beat around the bush. He asks Lohicca directly, is it true you hold this view, this wicked view?
No, Lohicca.
He confirms it. Yep, that's what I believe.
Okay, so it's out in the open, and then this is where it gets really clever.
How so?
Instead of arguing about Dhamma directly, the Buddha pivots. He starts using these incredibly practical, relatable examples.
Grounding it in Lohicca's own world.
Precisely. He's connecting these big ethical ideas to stuff Lohicca deals with every day.
So what's the first example?
He asks Lohicca about Sālavatikā, his own village.
Okay.
He says, imagine someone told you, Lohicca, that you should just take all the produce from this village for yourself. Don't share it with anyone.
Like keep all the grain, all the fruit, everything.
Right. The Buddha asks, would that person, the one telling you to hoard it all, be a hinderer to the people who depend on you? Your workers, your family, the whole community.
And Lohicca has to agree, right?
He does. He says, yes, that would absolutely be a hindrance.
Okay, so the Buddha's got him to agree on that point.
And then the Buddha lays out the logic, step by step. He says, okay, if someone is a hinderer, that implies they lack sympathy, right?
Makes sense.
And a lack of sympathy leads to a hostile mind. And a hostile mind, well, that is a wrong view.
Ah, connecting it back to that term.
Exactly. And the text is very clear about the consequences for holding such a wrong view. Rebirth in hell or as an animal. It's pretty severe.
Wow. So hoarding material resources leads down this really bad path, ethically and karmically.
That's the argument. Then the Buddha widens the lens. He asks about King Pasenadi, the guy who gave Lohicca the village in the first place.
Right, the king of Kosala.
She says, what if someone told the king, hey, you should monopolize all the produce from your entire kingdom, Kosala. Keep it all for yourself.
Okay, same logic, but on a bigger scale.
Would that person be a hinderer to everyone who depends on the king, including, by the way, Lohicca himself?
Again, Lohicca has to say yes.
He agrees. And the Buddha points out, it's the exact same chain of logic. Being a hinderer leads to lack of sympathy, hostile mind, wrong view.
And the same dire consequences.
Right. So what the Buddha's doing here, if you step back, is he's establishing this universal principle. Withholding beneficial resources, whether they're material like food or, as we'll see, intellectual, it's fundamentally harmful. It's ethically wrong.
Okay, so he's laid this really solid groundwork using examples Lohicca can't argue with. His own village, his own king.
Exactly. The logic is tight.
So now, how does he circle back to Lohicca's original wicked view about not teaching the Dhamma? Does that same logic about being a hinderer apply to knowledge?
It applies perfectly. And that's the genius of the setup. The Buddha now uses the very same line of reasoning for spiritual knowledge.
Okay, walk me through it.
He says, okay, Lohicca, consider someone who holds your view, that a contemplative or Brahmin who figures out the good Dhamma shouldn't teach it, because what can one do for another?
Right.
That person, the Buddha argues, becomes a hinderer. But what are they hindering?
Not access to food, but access to enlightenment.
Essentially, yes. They're hindering others from achieving these really profound spiritual goals. The text lists them. Stream entry, that's like the first stage of awakening. Then once returner, non-returner, all the way up to arahantship, which is full liberation. Or even just hindering them from getting a better rebirth, like in a divine realm.
So blocking someone's spiritual progress is just as bad as blocking their access to food.
According to this argument, yes. The consequences are framed identically. That person who advocates for withholding Dhamma is a hinderer.
Which means they show no sympathy.
They have a hostile mind.
Which constitutes a wrong view.
Leading to those same negative future destinations, hell or the animal realm.
Wow, that's a powerful equation. It makes intellectual and spiritual resources seem incredibly vital, maybe even more so than physical ones.
It really does. This ancient text is basically saying hoarding wisdom, especially wisdom that can free people from suffering, is a profound ethical failure. It's like, a form of spiritual oppression almost.
It's not just being ungenerous. It's actively harmful, destructive.
Exactly. But the dialogue doesn't stop there. It gets even more nuanced. It shifts to talking about teachers, specifically which ones actually deserve criticism or censure.
Ah, okay. So it's not just whether you teach, but how and from what position you teach.
Precisely. The text says censure against certain types of teachers is actually real, true, righteous, and blameless. It's okay to critique them.
Okay, that's important. So who are these censurable teachers?
There are 3 categories laid out. The first type, this is a teacher who hasn't actually reached their own spiritual goal yet. They haven't attained the final state themselves.
Okay, still learning, basically.
Right, but they are teaching, trying to help others. The problem is their disciples don't listen. They don't follow the instructions. They don't practice correctly.
So the teaching isn't landing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The text uses this really vivid image. It's like trying to pull back someone who's retreating, or like trying to embrace someone who's already turned their back on you.
Good intentions, bad results.
Sort of.
Yeah.
The effort's there, maybe, but the connection, the impact, it just isn't happening.
Okay. What's the second type?
The second type is also a teacher who hasn't reached their own goal yet, still on the path.
Right.
But their disciples do listen. They follow the instructions. They practice diligently.
Okay, so this sounds better. The teaching is working.
Well, the text critiques this too. It compares this teacher to someone abandoning one's own field and thinking one must farm another's field.
Huh. Like neglecting their own work to focus on others.
Yeah, it implies a kind of maybe misalignment. Or maybe they're trying to guide others further than they themselves have actually gone. An overreach, perhaps.
Yeah.
Haven't finished cultivating their own field of wisdom.
Interesting. So even if the students are receptive, if the teacher isn't fully realized, there's still grounds for censure.
That's what the text suggests. And then there's the third type.
Let me guess. This teacher has attained the goal.
You got it. This teacher is fully realized, an arahant perhaps. They teach the Dhamma, but their disciples still don't listen or follow properly.
Oh, wow. So even a fully enlightened teacher can be censurable if their teaching isn't effective.
Yes. And look how the text describes this situation. It brings back Lohicca's own phrase.
Which one?
Cutting an old bond and making a new one. The very thing Lohicca thought teaching was. Here, it's used to describe the failure of teaching, even by an accomplished master.
So it implies there's a disconnect. The transmission isn't happening despite the teacher's personal achievement.
Exactly. What's really insightful, I think, across all three types is that good intentions aren't enough. Even personal mastery isn't enough on its own.
Yeah.
If the teaching doesn't actually work, if it doesn't land effectively, or if it's not grounded properly because the teacher isn't there yet.
Then criticism is fair game.
Right. It really emphasizes results and impact, not just effort or even the teacher's qualifications on paper, so to speak.
It's a very practical view of teaching, actually. Almost like an ancient take on pedagogy, isn't it?
Right.
Focusing on whether learning actually occurs.
It really feels that way. It's not just about dumping information, even profound information.
Right.
True guidance has to connect. It has to transform.
Okay, so we have these three types of teachers who can be rightly censured. After hearing all this, Lohicca must be wondering...
Is anyone safe from criticism?
Exactly. Is there any teacher who is not worthy of censure? He asked the Buddha this directly.
And the Buddha gives a very clear yes.
It was it.
It's the Tathagata. That's a term for the Buddha himself.
Yeah.
Meaning the thus gone or thus come one, the perfectly fully self-awakened one.
Ah, the ideal teacher.
The ideal.
Yeah.
And the text describes why such a teacher is beyond censure. It's because their disciples do achieve profound states.
They get results.
Big time. The text mentions attaining the 4 jhanas. These are very deep states of meditative concentration. And ultimately, they attain arahantship. Final liberation, the end of suffering. The teaching works.
So in that case, if the teacher is fully realized and the teaching leads to liberation for the students...
Then any criticism, any censure against that teacher is called false, untrue, unrighteous, and blameworthy.
It completely flips the script on censure.
It does. It highlights the absolute value and effectiveness when true realization meets skillful means in teaching. This is where knowledge sharing reaches its pinnacle.
And seeing this whole logical progression from the village produced to the highest spiritual states, Lohicca finally gets it.
He has a total aha moment. It's quite dramatic, actually.
What does he say?
He says to the Buddha, basically, wow, just like someone falling into a pit,
Yeah.
might be grabbed by the hair and pulled out onto solid ground. That's what you've done for me.
Yeah.
You've pulled me out of this pit of wrong view.
That's quite a statement. He really felt stuck.
He clearly did. And right then and there, he takes refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. He becomes a lay follower.
So the teaching worked on him, even though it started with analogies about kings and harvests.
Mm-hmm. This whole deep dive, for me, it just highlights the incredible ethical weight the Sutta places on sharing knowledge.
It's not just a nice to have.
Not at all. It's about what you know, sure, but maybe even more about how you share it, or if you share it, and the impact that has.
The Lohiccasuttaṃ makes this incredibly strong case that holding back truly helpful knowledge,
Or even just teaching it badly, ineffectively.
can be just as damaging, just as ethically wrong as hoarding food or denying people essential resources.
Yeah, it really pushes us to think about clarity and purpose and the actual effect of any kind of teaching or information sharing we do.
It's about building genuine understanding, isn't it? Not just transmitting data points.
Absolutely. Which I think leads to a really important question for you listening right now.
Yeah.
In our age, the information age, right? Knowledge seems everywhere. It's overwhelming sometimes.
Sure.
What are our responsibilities as individuals, as communities? How do we make sure that the insights that are truly beneficial, truly helpful,
Aren't just out there, but are actually understood. And maybe even applied.
yeah, What does it mean for you to be a teacher in some way or a learner? How do we navigate this so-called knowledge economy?
To make sure it genuinely enriches everyone and doesn't just create maybe new subtle ways of hoarding or hindering.
That's something to think about.